Hi folks, it's Rob Flux here from Property Developer Network, coming to you once again for another Sunday session. I am quite fortunate to be here sitting in front of you for this particular Sunday session. I've only just gotten back from the airport, spent an entire week in Melbourne on holidays with my lovely wife. We did some lovely sightseeing and adventures, did the Great Ocean Road, did a helicopter ride over the 12 Apostles and a number of other things, and literally have gotten back in time about half an hour ago to race home and get here to sit in front of you. So if I'm a little bit flustered, I apologize in advance for, I guess, any fumbles or stutters or stammers that I might have in this particular regards, because this is very much off the cuff and coming to you live, as is always. Now, today's session is going to be how to find money partners and get them to take your deals seriously. Okay, so many of us are going to find deals over time, and you've heard the expression, when you've got the right deal, money will come. Well, there's a few things that you need to do in order to actually prep for that. So I'm going to go through some of those little elements right here for you as we go. Now, before I do, I just want to do a little bit of logistics with some upcoming events that we've got going on around the grounds. We've got monthly meetups as per usual in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne this month. However, there's a couple of minor modifications that we're actually doing to the program along the way. You'll recall approximately a month ago, actually it was probably 2 months ago now, just before Christmas, I put an email out to everybody saying, what is your biggest property challenge? And I had well over 250 odd responses to that particular question. And the result of that, I've been collating those responses together, and I'm putting together a special session in Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. I'm putting on a special session that is going to be before our normal monthly meetup. So we're going to put the special session on in the morning and then the monthly meetup on in the afternoon. So you can actually make an entire day of property if you so desire. And as you know, we always kick on socially afterwards. So that's going to be well into the evening for those of you who are interested. Now, what I'm going to do, the dates for those, I'm going to try and do off the top of my head right now. So in Brisbane, that is going to be the 15th of February. In Sydney, that is going to be the 22nd of February. And in Melbourne, that's going to be the 29th of February. Now, Melbourne, very special time for you because you didn't get a January meetup. What we're trying to do is actually try and make that up for you. We're actually having 2 meetups for you guys this month. We just had one yesterday, and now this will be the 29th, being a leap day, or I guess the leap day in a leap year. So that is the extra day in the month. So for you guys, extra session there. So that is the 15th for Brisbane, the 22nd for Sydney, and the 29th for February. So for these sessions, we already have quite a large number of people that have already RSVP'd, and I'm actually quite concerned that our room is not going to be big enough. So it is very, very critical that anyone who wants to attend one of these, they actually register in advance so that we can actually make sure that we get the room size right, because what I'm really worried about is that we're actually going to be over full and oversubscribed, and there's fire safety hazards and that sort of thing. So we actually have to have seats for everybody sitting in the room. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to post the link for you guys, anyone who wants to register for those. I'm going to post that there now. So if you guys want to jump onto that, register for those extra sessions. Anyone who turns up to the morning session will be, so the morning session is for free. The afternoon session is normally $25, but if you have listened to me in the morning, then I am shouting you the afternoon session as well. So anyone that would love to do that, please do come along. Would like to see you. We've got close to 100 odd people registered in Brisbane. I think we've got close to 90 odd in Sydney and 60 odd in Melbourne already. So rooms are very much approaching capacity as it is. So very much encourage you guys to try and lock that in early to make sure you've actually reserved your spot. And if for any reason you can't attend, please let us know so we can let somebody else come. That would be fantastic. Now, having said that, today's session is all about how to find money partners and get them to take your deals seriously. Now, as with any Facebook Live, you are encouraged to ask me questions as you go. There is always a small lag between you asking the question and it appearing on my screen. So please note that that's the case, and I guess allow a little bit of leeway in that process. Now, for the purposes of this, I'm going to assume that you have found yourself a cracking deal and that you don't have money in some way, shape, or form, and you need to attract a money partner, or you need to attract a finance partner in some way, shape, or form. And that finance partner could be a bank, it could be, I guess, a second-tier lender, or it could be, I guess, somebody within the network, could be friends, could be family, but someone that you want to take your deal seriously. Now, especially in a situation where this is your first deal, how you present that information to them is going to be critical in your ability to actually achieve success in order to get the funds. And you need to come across very professional in order to have them take you seriously in that process, okay? In many instances, you're asking for a significant amount of money, so they want to know that there's a lot of confidence in what you're putting together to make sure that you are representing that in the right way, and that you're going to look after that, look after their funds through the process. So how do we do that? Now, there's a thing called an IM, or an information memorandum. So an IM is a document that you will put together that is a little bit like a prospectus that represents the project from start to finish, all the issues, challenges, and frequently asked questions that somebody is likely to ask you. So your job is to actually, before you actually go seeking the money, actually put together this information memorandum, go through in your head all of the different questions that you think somebody is going to ask, and make sure you actually document that up front. And whether they ask you the question or not, you're gonna have been prepared because you've actually prepped that information up front. And two, you're gonna be able to put that in a professional way so that they can see that even the questions that they've not thought of, you have. Okay, so I'm gonna run through some of the elements that you're gonna cover in an information memorandum, how that's actually gonna be represented, so that somebody taking that and reading that is actually going to take that quite seriously. Now, I can see a number of people jumping online. I'm not going to read everybody's name out individually, but I can see you all and I guess say hi. So thank you very much for jumping on board. Don't be afraid to ask questions as we go, folks. This is very, very important. Okay, so what are some of the things that we're going to put into the IM? So let's start from as if we know absolutely nothing about the deal, and we're going to seek the money partner, the information that they're looking for. The very first thing that they're going to care about are the numbers. And by the numbers, I'm talking about they're going to want to know how much money do you want? What does that look like? Is that going to be in the form of cash? Is that going to be in the form of equity? Is that going to be in the form of serviceability? So you need to document what that is going to look like from what you're seeking from an investment point of view. You're also needing to document what you're going to be giving them in return, or what you're offering them in return for a return on investment. So if they're putting X amount in, what do they anticipate to get out of that? Is that going to be a fixed percentage return of interest, or is that going to be a percentage profit split? Those sorts of things are quite important in how you actually put that together. In saying that, it's also quite important that you actually understand the level of risk that you're asking them to take in your deal. So what security are you actually going to be offering them in return for them actually putting the funds in? So are you able to offer them a first mortgage security? Are you able to offer them a second mortgage security? Are you able to offer them a mortgage over another asset that you might have somewhere else? Or do they have, I guess, less security? It might be a caveat, or even is it unregistered security? So the more security you've got, the cheaper the interest rate is likely to be. The less security you've got, the higher the interest rate is going to be. You've got to understand that if they're taking a risk in the process, then that's going to be commensurate to the level of risk, I guess, and their ability to ensure that they can actually get their money back. The other thing you want to be talking about is how long do you anticipate them actually having the money, so you having the money in order to run the project. So the duration of the loan. And also, what are you actually going to be using those funds towards? So they actually have a very good understanding of the numbers, you know, how much, what the return on investment is, how long that's going to be for, and what's at risk. Now, one of the things to be very, very careful of, folks, is that you cannot say that it is a guaranteed return, okay? There's a number of legal reasons why you can't say that, that I'm not going to go into, other than to say that you physically cannot guarantee a return, because property development is a risky game. And if the project does go wrong, whilst you might be good for it, you might be able to give them a personal guarantee, but you cannot actually give them a written guarantee to say, in the form of that information memorandum, to say, I guarantee you'll get your money back. Because unless you are a massive investment fund, your likelihood of being able to guarantee that is pretty low. So that's the first thing, is what are the numbers, okay? The next thing you want to do is give them a little bit of an overview of the project itself. So you want to say, this is the kind of project, this is what we're trying to achieve, so I'm just going to make up a particular scenario here. So let's just say that you're putting a townhouse project together. So you're going to be stepping them through, these are the different stages of the process. You know, right now it's a raw site. We anticipate that's going to take anywhere from 4 to 6 months before we get our development approval. Then from there, it's going to take a little bit longer to get our building approvals. So it might take 2 to 3 months to get our building approvals. Then it's going to take approximately 9 months for the construction period, and then into a sales campaign. So you're going to step through an overview of the project. What are the different milestones along the way? What are the timelines for each of those milestones? And whether or not there's any opportunity for them to exit at one of those milestones. And for you, you need to also say, where do you think you're actually going to be exiting the deal? So what are your exit strategies? Now, each one of those steps that I just highlighted there are going to be natural opportunities for you to be able to get out of the deal, but you may have full intention of taking it all the way through to completion. So you will say, my preferred exit is sell finished product, but plan B will be sell off the plan. Plan C will be sell it as a DA approved site, go back a number of steps through there, etc., etc. Now I can see a couple of people asking questions and yelling out and saying hi, so I'm just going to say hello to everyone. Cherie has said, hi Rob, this is very useful info, thank you, going into it for us. You're welcome, Cherie. This is what I do every single Sunday. We also do similar sorts of things in our monthly meetups, so I guess we're here to give and add value to the process to you guys and help you on your journey. That's really what we're here for. So hoping that helps you. So once you've given them a little bit of an overview of your project, what it is that you're trying to seek, how the project is going to run, etc., etc., then you're going to want to go into a lot of the due diligence that you should have already done on the deal itself. And these are the things you're going to represent back to them so that they can actually see that you've put the homework in to make sure that that is really the kind of deal that they want to actually get into. So for example, in that scenario where I said townhouses, you want to go into, well, what are the demographics of the area and what is the age categories? Are they partnered? Are they unpartnered? Do they have young families? All that sort of thing. You want to actually be able to document the number of people in that section of community that is going to be wanting that product. And then also, what is the supply and demand? So what are your competitors in that space? How many people are you competing with? What other product is on the market right now? What are they actually selling for? So you're actually trying to go through and actually demonstrate, hey, what we're putting out here, there is actually a market demand for. There is enough people that are actually wanting to take on that product. And there's not enough supply in order for them to actually compete. And even if there are competitors in the market, competitors aren't necessarily a bad thing if that supply and demand is still low enough to actually, also I should say high enough, that the demand is actually high enough that you can still actually take that on. Now, the higher the demand, obviously, the more premium a price point you can potentially ask for the product. The lower the demand, then the more realistic you need to be on your price point, and you need to actually get your numbers right very first go. So if you get that supply and demand product right, then you'll know exactly what's going on. When you're looking at the demographics, you also want to start to understand, is it an owner-occupier market, or alternatively, is it an investor type market in and around the area that you're actually building your stock? That's going to change very much the spec that you build your product at, and also the price point that you're going to be selling it at, and also the information that you're going to be presenting to the ultimate buyer, and thus the same information you want to be presenting to your money partner to say, we've done the homework here. If it's an investor, we want to say how much rental stock is actually on the market. What is the vacancy rates? What is the percentage return on investment? All those sorts of things. And the kind of specifications that you're actually putting into the product is going to be a little bit different, because it's going to be a little bit more robust if it's an investor market. Whereas if it's an owner-occupier, it's probably going to be a little bit more from a convenience and a wow factor and those sorts of things. You know, investors want something that's going to be reliable and low maintenance, whereas investors are going to have something that they're going to put a little bit of pride into, and they're going to look after it themselves. So very important that you actually understand the demographics of what is actually happening in and around the area. The other things that you want to be putting in there are, what are some of the issues and challenges that you know you need to overcome on the project? So what are the constraints that council have put on there? Are there issues in and around heritage protection, or are there issues around noise, in which case you might have to do double glazed windows and things like that? Are there issues with bushfire consultancy? A number of other elements where you need to change potentially the design of the product. So firstly, you want to identify what is the issue that you're trying to solve, and then you want to say, and this is how we've solved it. So it's not just a matter of, hey, I can see problems. You want to say, well, I can see the problem, and this is how we're actually mitigating that problem. So the more you can actually identify, hey, we've identified the problems and we've got a solution to that, the more people are actually going to start to take you seriously. One of the challenges that I see in many people actually trying to put these or trying to seek investors is they don't put all this extra effort into the process, and then when they get questioned on it from their investors, then they're stuttering and stammering, I should say. Now I'm doing that myself. They're stuttering and stammering because they don't actually have the homework. It's not top of mind. So if you've done that homework up front, you'll be able to answer it with authority. And even if you don't know the answer on the spot, you'll be able to say, let me come back to you on that one. It won't be a problem. So we're really trying to get all of those issues and challenges put on the table. As I said before, you want to actually put down what your exit strategies are. So where do you ideally want to get out of the deal? And having a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, and also what are the triggers that are actually going to say whether or not you turn on plan A, whether or not you turn plan B, etc., etc. Some of the other elements that you want to put in there, so you're going to be putting in there, for example, the design specifications. So you might put in there, these are the fixtures, these are the fittings, this is the look and feel. And if you've gone that far down the process, you might actually put some floor plans, you might put some renders that have some conceptual outcomes as to what this is actually going to look like from a marketing perspective. Depends on where you need the money to come into the deal. So you're needing that to acquire the site day one, or are you needing that, you know, you might have been able to acquire the site, and you just need somebody to actually help you fund the construction process. So depending upon where you need those money partners coming in, you may be able to give more and more detail because you've actually done a lot more of that homework up front. Things like your yield analysis. How have you actually proven that yield analysis is actually going to apply? You think there's going to be 4 townhouses on there, but when you go and talk to your architect, they're going to say, well, actually there's some issues around trafficking on and off the site. There's some issues with regards to car parking, refuse removal, private open space, all those sorts of things. We thought we could get 4, but when we actually look at the layout, maybe we can only get 3. So you want to make sure you've done all that homework up front. You've got those yield analysis in place, and that what you're going to your investors with is a fairly locked down design that is actually going to cover that for you quite well. The other thing that you want to be going through is, who are the people that are actually on your team? So if you are brand new, if this is your very first time investing, a lot of us struggle with the fact that, well, why would somebody believe in me if this is my very first time doing a deal? Well, the challenge there is that if you don't believe in you, then nobody else is going to believe in you. So that's the first part. So that's a limiting belief that many of us need to come over. The second part is, though, that many of you have actually done the study, done the work, and wanting to get into the first deal, Now when you try to represent yourself well, you've got to show, hey, I've actually done the work. This is the process that I've gone through. This is the training that I've gone through. This is the mentors that I've got sitting behind me. And here's the team of experts that are going to sit behind me as well. So who's my town planner? Who's my civil engineer? Who's my architect? All those sorts of things. Who's my mentor? Write them down on one of the page and say, this is my team. What that does is it represents the fact that it's not just you doing it in isolation. You've actually got a number of people sitting over the top of you with years and years of experience that are going to actually help you out. And it uses a thing called borrowed credibility. So yes, it's your first deal, but look at the experience of all these other people in my team, and they're going to look after me in the process. And so when your investor can see, yeah, okay, I understand it's your first deal, but I can see that all these other people are actually going to be looking after you in the process. A lot of people will actually take that on board. Now, on your very first deal, they may ask for a little bit of a premium from an interest rate perspective because they're taking a little bit of a gamble on you. But you just make sure that you have that conversation with them and say, okay, well, if I'm going to do that, then it's going to be this one time and this one time only that I give you that extra little premium. So they're the kind of things that you actually put together in an IM as you go through the process. Demographics, you'd be looking at, age of population. You'd be looking at how many male, how many female, how many are married, how many are young couples, how many are young couples with families, how many older generation, and then does the product suit what the market that you're trying to get to? So there is no point if your demographics say it's an older generation. Everyone in the area is largely 50 plus. Those people are not going to want a two-story type dwelling. They're going to want what is called age in place, which means that they're probably going to want something single story so that as they age gracefully, they're going to be able to live in the same property for 10, 20, 30 years, and they're not going to have to worry about, in 20 years' time, when my body starts to break down a little bit, I can't navigate these stairs anymore. Whereas if you've got a younger generation, then that's less of an issue. So you want to make sure that your product is very much matching the area and the demographic. The other thing you want to make sure is price points. So the price point that you're trying to sell your finished product for, demonstrate you've got evidence of other people having achieved those exact same price points that you're trying to identify. So give examples of, project X down the road, that was another 6-pack and it sold for this price. The one down the road, that was a 4-pack, it sold for this price. This is the timeline that they turned over in. Look at the specs of those products and make sure that the specs that you're providing and the specs that they are very comparable. So all of those things are very important that you actually put in there. Probably the last point you want to put in there is the feasibility of the deal. Don't forget to put the feasibility in. When you put the feasibility in, if you put every single line item line by line by line, it can be a little bit overwhelming for your investors. So make sure that you roll those numbers up into nice, easy, clear, succinct headings. So for example, you might have the development approval stage. Now in the background, so that's one line item on your feasibility, but in the background, that might be made up of 15 different line items. That might be your town planner, your council application fees, your civil engineer, all of those sorts of things that all lump together and they roll up just into that one heading. So if you break it up into nice, easy, succinct sections to read, you've got the background information that you can present to someone afterwards, but you're trying to give them something that's nice and easy for them to actually digest. And then the most important thing when you're putting all of this together is when you put the IM together, the information memorandum together, that you prepare it very, very professionally, okay? So it's not just something that you slap together on the back of an envelope. You want to actually put that together and wordsmith it well. You want to make it read like a story so that the facts that they're looking for right up front is, what are the numbers? So pretty much jump straight to the point. This is an overview of the project. This is the investment that we're looking for. This is the return that we're going into. Then you can go into the detail of, this is why we think it's a fantastic project. This is the detail of what we've actually done from a design perspective. And you want that document to tell a story. The most important part is get to the point right up front, which is how much money you're looking for and what are you actually offering. And then everything behind that is the supporting evidence that you're looking for to do that. Present it well, put it together in an IM, with very good presentation skills. And if you're not very good at that, maybe pay someone to professionally put that document together for you. Got some fantastic examples that some of my students have done that have come out looking schmick, and they look as professional as anyone who's done 20 or 30 deals would actually do. So, the more you represent that very professionally up front, the more people are actually going to take you seriously. Now, I can see a couple of questions coming through. So Cherie's got one here. So Rob, assuming that the proposed project is under a conditional contract, while putting this info/IM together, after some due diligence, of course, and finding your money partners. I'm not quite sure I see the question there, Cherie, so I'm just going to try and interpret that if I can, and if I've got the interpretation wrong, I humbly apologize. I think what you're asking is, when do you put this IM together? And whether or not you actually do that while you're under due diligence. So the answer is that absolutely, you should be doing it whilst you're under due diligence. But I would say you want to be warming your money partners up in advance. Let them know, hey, these are the kinds of projects I'm looking for. This is the kind of homework that I actually do. Show them a couple of deals that didn't quite get over the line beforehand, just to say, look, when they come in, we're going to be acting very, very fast. This is how I'm actually going to present it. So they'll see a couple of sites that you have actually rejected. You'll show them those up front and say, look, this is the homework that we do. When it comes through, we need to act fast. So if you're on board in principle, now it's just a matter of looking at the deal in isolation. And so, yes, you want to make sure that you've got them lined up, ready to go, and you're presenting that to them during that due diligence phase. I do not, under any circumstances, recommend that you go unconditional if you do not have a money partner lined up. That's just a recipe for disaster. And I make very, very strongly recommend that you have all your ducks in a row with regards to being able to execute the project from a team perspective, from a skills perspective, and from a money perspective before you go unconditional on any of these contracts. So hopefully that answers your question. So Peter says, just joined. I know the next beer is quite easy. I think what you're saying is that I usually have a drink while I'm having these Sunday sessions. Just on the water today, Peter. So, thank you. I appreciate the offer, but your shout next time for sure. So, folks, it's going to be a bit of a short, sharp session today. So Cherie says, yes, that was exactly what she was after. Thank you. You're welcome. So a bit of a short, sharp session today. So really putting it over to you guys to say, what other questions would you be wanting in and around this topic? Whilst I'm waiting for those questions to come through, what I'm going to say to you is that there is an abundance of money sitting out there if you A, have a good deal, and B, are able to represent that deal in a professional manner. So putting together a professional information memorandum is critical to be able to have your deal taken seriously and have your money partners to actually take you seriously. Okay, so if you want to get this right, one, put it together in an information memorandum and have that professionally presented. Two, make sure that the numbers are actually captured. You want to make sure that how much money you're after, what the form of that money is actually taking. So is it cash? Is it equity? Is it serviceability? What's the level of security you're actually providing that person, and how long you actually need those funds for? So they're the numbers, okay? The next thing is, I guess, an overview of the deal itself. So what is it you're actually trying to do? How long that's going to take? What the timeline is going to be in actually trying to execute that deal? Three, what is the due diligence you've actually done on the site? So what are the issues? What are the challenges? What are the steps that you're putting in place to actually mitigate those? And then I guess 4, looking at all of the background due diligence about the demographics, the market, the supply, the demand, what your product is actually going to look like, all those sorts of things. And then make sure that's all wrapped up nice and pretty in a very professionally put together document. And that document, once again, is called an Information Memorandum, or IM. So Peter says, all good. Thank you very much, mate. Shirlene says, thanks, Rob. Great info. Peter says, how much info do you provide in terms of location? Is there a chance it might get stolen? So Peter, I'm going to say you shouldn't be putting together an IM to go out to someone on a deal that is not under contract in some way, shape or form. And you want to make sure that the contract has an escape clause for you that allows you to get out either under finance or under due diligence or something is very, very similar. If you're going in and trying to get money partners when you don't have it under contract, there is a danger that someone will go around you. But at the same time, if you're approaching people that you think are going to go around you, that is not the kind of person you want as a money partner to start with. So if that is something that's high on your radar, then probably those people are not going to make good money partners for you. So there's a whole bunch of things that you want to put together in around how you vet your money partners, and I'll deal with that as a separate topic on another day. But I guess if you believe that they're actually going to go around you, then steer clear of that person right up front, mate, is what I would say. But make sure you've got it under contract. That is probably one of the most critical things. Okay, and I guess if you want to learn more, folks, if you want to learn a little bit more about this, as I said, we put those questions out as what is our biggest challenge, and we had over 250 people come back to us with different issues and challenges around money, around how to find deals, how to go through deals quickly, how to get their strategy right, all those sorts of things. And we're wrapping all of that up together, and we're actually putting that together as a bonus session this month. So for every meetup this month, we're adding a bonus session in the morning. So anyone wanting to come to that, highly recommend that you please register for that beforehand, because we're getting to the point where we're not going to have room in the room anymore. We want to make sure that people have actually RSVP'd. We are trying to get the rooms to be a little bit bigger, but in some venues that's going to be a little bit challenging. So please, I'm going to once again put that link in here for anyone who's wanting to come to those bonus sessions. So please do that, and please pre-register in advance. Other than that, folks, I can't see any more questions coming through, so I might make this a short, sharp session for everybody. I'll give you a couple of minutes just to put your final questions there. Whilst we're waiting for those couple of minutes, I'll go through those dates again. So this month in Brisbane, we are going to be on the 15th of February. So normal meetup from 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the bonus session is going to be in the morning. Okay. In Sydney, that is going to be on the 22nd. Again, the normal meetup from 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and the bonus session again in the morning. And in Melbourne, slightly different date to usual. This is actually going to be the 29th of February for Melbourne people. Again, meet up in the afternoon and the bonus session in the morning. So please register for those bonus sessions for anyone wanting to come. If you don't want to come to the bonus session, that's fine. We're still doing our normal meetups in the afternoon as per usual. But anyone who comes to the bonus sessions will actually get to the meetup for free. So that's what time in the morning. Peter, the best bet you can do is just follow that link, mate, because the time is going to be different in each state. So rather than me trying to quote them off the top of my head, just follow that link I've got there. It's got the dates, and it will then send you some reminders and that sort of thing as well. So I'm not going to go there because of time zone differences and because of room commitment timeline issues. We are slightly different in each state, so I'm not going to confuse things there. So that said, folks, I think that's it for today. Thank you very much, and I'm going to catch you all next week for another Sunday session. Till then, bye for now.